computer. Okay. Okay, you ready?
3, 2, 1.
That was exact.
Were we exact? We'll
We're
never know.
exactly correct.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. We will. You'll know when you go to edit it.
I know.
Do you edit? Are you editing things out?
If you've noticed, last week's was edited slightly more than we've ever edited before, which means that it was edited by like 0.5%.
Which means no, the only one who would know that if they watched the video version and listen to the podcast, which is literally no one. So no one noticed.
There were maybe about 30 seconds where we were most definitely talking over each other, because we never do that normally.
What?
And I cut out the sound of one of us talking over the sound of the other one. Now that is interchangeable. You talk over me and I talk over you just as much as each other.
Well, this time I'm going to shake over it because,
right.
Okay, can I just express how happy I am? Can we always record on a weekend? I need it.
Aaron's drunk already.
Excuse me. Okay, that might be true. But I just really like, this is my happy place. But it would be a happier place if I could just also be having a cocktail, which I brought with me today.
What's in your cocktail? What's in it?
It's a pear martini, and I know you're
what's
jealous.
A pear martini?
What is a pear martini? I'll tell you what a pear martini is, my friends. It is pear vodka. Delicious. Look at this. Oh, you can't see it actually.
I can't see.
Camera's not pointed at it. Well, just know that there's actual particles in there. I'm not really sure what those particles are from. There's a lot of floaties in here.
Oh my God. Is that dirt from the inside of your cocktail shaker?
I actually don't know. Okay, there's a lot of actual particulate matter floating around my cocktail.
Oh, look at that glass. Karen has the poshest
cocktail
glass.
This is from a thrift shop. It was they're 99-cent martini glasses.
I have a goblet, the old timey goblet.
Oh yeah, that is really cool.
I've got gin and tonic in mine.
Why is there floating shit in my cocktail though?
It's called ice, Karen. It's called ice.
What is that from? So it's lime juice, pear vodka, and pear flavored syrup. But seriously, what in the actual is floating around in here? I don't care. I'm gonna drink it anyway.
I can actually see the
look at
from here.
They're giant. There's giant particulate matter in my martini. I'm drinking it anyway. I'm gonna eat it. It's solid.
It's one of your 5 a day. There you go.
That was actually super strong. Oh, and then I also put a splash of absolute pear and elderberry juice.
Oh my God, that sounds so good.
What is all this shit in here though? Was it in here? I don't know where that came from. I wish Sean was here. I'd ask him what it was from. That's so gross.
Oh, Sean does not get on our podcast.
Yeah, no, he does not. He's disinvited forever.
It's just like he tried to sabotage us last week. He seriously tried to sabotage us, and he's not getting anywhere near us ever again.
I've never been so disappointed in him in my whole life. Hi,
what an
Margaret.
embarrassment.
Oh, Maggie just came in with her gigantic bone.
Hi, Maggie. Maggie's always allowed to the podcast.
I took a really, really funny video right before I popped on with you. Okay, meanwhile, we started this call 2 hours ago and we're just recording right now.
I know.
I love that actually so much. We were due for like a good catch up session. Not to be confused with catch up, but like catching up.
I know.
And she gets these modes where she's super feisty, and she'll just start attacking
She's sassy.
me. Oh, yeah, she
sassy.
is. So I had my iPhone camera right on her and I'm like, Maggie, like, are you going to be good? And she was just like looking at me. And then she just like attacked me like on cue. It was so good. I'm like, and you do not disappoint. Oh my God. Okay. So we just caught up for a super long time. I have to dive in because this is the most ridiculous. It started out being the most normal thing that I was researching. And then it quickly spiraled out of control.
Oh, is this the podcast that you told me to listen to yesterday?
No, this is the
this
podcast,
something else?
Our podcast right now.
Oh,
which is
we
I
always
know.
spiral out of control.
Yeah, but this is like an extra bonus spiral that I was
What,
unprepared
the
for.
fact that we are drinking and talking, or the subject of this week's podcast?
It has been so long since we had a drinking podcast. We cannot deviate from this formula again. This has been the most stupidest 20 dry weeks in a row. I'm not having it. We're not doing that again. None of this Wednesday morning recording bullshit. I want floaty drinks. I want Friday night lights, not football, but like good podcasting. Yeah. Okay. Can we do that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's a deal.
It's so fun. So fun. And it's more fun if we have our wee drams. What are you drinking, my friend, Lucy?
Drinking gin and tonic.
Do you have floaties in yours?
No floaties. Sorry to disappoint. There
so
was
good.
ice, but the ice is melted. So
really?
It's just gin and tonic.
I really want to know what the hell is in my
I don't think you want to know what's in your
look.
Sometimes
can you see it? It's like sprinkles. Someone put like sprinkles of shit
sometimes in it. It's better not to know.
It tastes delicious, whatever it is.
It's like, you know, when you sit around a campfire and you have your food or your drink and it's dark and you can't see what's inside it.
Yes.
And you don't know whether there's like ash from the fire or bits of wood or any of those things. It's actually sometimes better not to know. Ignorance is bliss.
You're right. It tastes really good, whatever it is. So I'm all in. Do you like your toasted marshmallows? Like, how do you like them toasted?
So what I like to do is I like to burn them to a crisp.
Yes, me too.
And then I will soak off that top layer.
Yes.
Eat the top layer.
Oh my God.
Put the bit that's all gloopy back in the fire.
Oh my God.
And burn that to a crisp. Lucy. And I will repeat all the way down to the bitter end.
Lucy, you're my soulmate. That's exactly how I would eat mine.
Is it?
Oh my God. I can like taste it. Yes.
I love them.
A million%. It has to be like on fire. And then it's
black. It actually has to be burning when I take it out of the fire.
Just take like the shirt off of it. It just it comes right off. And then the ooey gooey center. It's so good.
I love it. But it's a waste if you eat that whole gooey center in a oneer, because the inside of that gooey center
a lot.
is not cooked yet. So that's why you need to keep putting it in and burning, putting it in and burning.
I know.
And like do that over and over again. That's how I do it.
I want toasted marshmallows so bad right now.
I know.
So
we
good.
Have them because we're sitting at computer desks.
I know. Drinking floaty martinis. Whoop. But it's good. Taking one for the team. Oh my God, I bought a new book. Did I tell you?
I saw something on Instagram. What is it?
So I really am loving The Peat Fire Flame by my friend, Mr. McGregor. I bought one of his other books called The Ghost Book. And it's all ghost stories. It's strange hauntings in Britain. It's scary. I'm not gonna lie, because it's like an old-timey book, you know. It was published in the 50s. Oh, this is really crazy, actually. I have to tell you this. Oh shit. Hold on. I need to pause. No, I'm not gonna pause because that fucks up our audacity. I'm not gonna pause. I'm just gonna tell you the words, but it's not as good as if I can show you. It's right in that room back there. There's a book on my night table. And I can't remember the name, but it's written by this woman, and her name is Marjorie something. And she wrote this book in the 50s, and she wrote it with the help of this guy, Alistair McGregor. And so I've been reading this book. This is the book that I actually brought to Scotland in the castle that I made you read when I pretended I wasn't really videoing you, but I really was videoing you.
Yeah, the one where you hijacked me.
Yes.
You forearmed me. What's the word for it? Where you get hijacked, but it's not that word. It's a better word.
I know what you mean. Yeah. It's not that word whatsoever, but yes, I totally was like, hey, I'm totally not videoing you right now, but I was. So you were reading from that book. So that book was written in the mid 1950s, and it's all about a like modern fairy sightings, not to be confused with our current modern
Our
fairy sightings
podcast,
which is our super favorite podcast. And in the introduction to that book, she writes about her relationship with Alistair McGregor. And that was before
relationship or just
like their working relationship and their mutual interest in fairy folklore. Okay. And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. So that poor woman, her book was, she wrote it in the 50s. She ended up dying in like the early 2000s or something. I'm going to botch up all my dates because I won't go get the book because I don't want to interrupt the podcast by getting up. But it took forever and ever. And it wasn't even published until like after she died. And it was super weird because I bought this book by Alistair McGregor called The Ghost Book. And then in the foreword of this book, meanwhile, Marjorie's book is on my night table. He dedicates his entire book to her.
Oh, that is so romantic. Oh my God.
And the very first lines are, oh, exclamation point, Marjorie, exclamation point. And it's like directly to her. And I'm like,
I think he loved her. Do you think he loved her? That sounds like he loved her. And even if he didn't, can we just make that up in our heads? Because that sounds super romantic.
He just is like, oh, Marjorie, this book at last is ready for the printer. Thanks largely to you and to the little folk whose aid on its behoof you were able to invoke. And I'm like, I love you guys so much. But it was such a surreal moment because her book was sitting right next to me on my night table. The first time I cracked this book open and I was like, holy shit, he's talking to her and she's right next to me now.
They're both dead?
I'm sure. I mean, his Peat Fire Flame book was published in 1936.
Okay,
I'm sure
so they're both dead.
Yes.
But they're kind of like,
but they were contemporary
living together in their.
I hope
that's
so.
Kind of cute.
I know, it's so cute, but it was such a weird moment to be like, oh my God, that's so weird. That's the only of all the books on my night table, that one is right there. So weird, like come full circle moment.
Yeah. Well, I got a book today.
You did?
You've got this book already, but it confused the fuck out of me for like half an hour.
Why? What is it? Which one's it?
Seriously messing with my head.
What?
It's like I bought a secondhand copy of Brian Froud's Good Fairies, Bad Fairies.
Oh, yeah.
But every time I opened it, it was upside down.
Upside down.
And then I'd turn it around and I'd open it and it was upside down.
Yeah.
And I was going, this book is upside down. And then I realized that he has half of it upside down one side and then a half of it. But because I always flick a book from back to front, I was always seeing the upside down bit first. Oh, and I was getting super, super confused. Like it really seriously messed. I was like, what's wrong with me? This book is upside down and I can't get it the right way up.
Yes. That did throw me for a loop the first time I opened it, but it's an excellent book. Super good.
I mean, I've already got like,
I know
2 or 3 of his books.
I know.
And some of the images are repeats, but I had to get it because it was only £5 secondhand on Amazon.
Up. Why? Oh, because it was secondhand. Yeah, the whole like look into different formats on Amazon is like the best feature ever.
Yeah.
To never pay full price for a book. I did buy another book this week.
What did you buy?
I don't even remember what it was called. I bought the map. I bought the map of Scotland, which I bought it.
So now your geography is on point.
Because I want it. Well, I have my Scottish cottage canvas over my desk and I want to put it next to it so I can know what we're talking about. I did buy a book. What the heck is it called?
So does that mean I can quiz you and say things like,
yes.
So Karen, whereabouts is Ardnamurchan?
Oh, what did you just say? Was that even English? This is what I bought. I bought a field guide
to the little people.
Yes.
That sounds amazing.
It looks really old timey. It has 35-star reviews. So I was all in. Yeah.
Who's it by?
Look, it has. So I bought it because the paperback was $40, but the hardcover was $10.
Oh.
And I was like, I couldn't even press the buy now button fast enough. I was like, I don't even know what this is, but I need it in my life. It's only $10. It is by Nancy Arrowsmith with George Morse. Look at her. Look at her.
Nancy Aerosmith. She part
Yeah.
of the band.
Apparently, I think she's older than the band. She looks
kind
old-timey.
of cool. She
does
looks
look
like
cool.
someone that if I'd been alive in the 70s, I would have been
Yes.
friends with.
This is most definitely a used book. All proceeds, however, go to support the Jefferson Parish Public Library in Metairie, Louisiana. You're welcome.
Nice.
I'm happy to support your library, your local library. But there's 79 entries set forth the lineage and describe the habitats, appearances, and deeds of fairies, leprechauns, elves, and other tiny imaginary, that might be where you're wrong, creatures of folklore. I would like to say this is a nonfiction book about fairies. Thank you. So yeah, I don't know. I never,
not that we're biased or, you know, unscientific in our opinions or anything.
But I was looking at the reviews and it was like the first one was 5 stars, the best of its kind that I find. I have been looking for this book ever since I borrowed a copy from my junior high English teacher. It is the most comprehensive book of fairy folklore I've ever seen. And this book lives up to my memory.
More comprehensive than Catherine Briggs. I would be more comprehensive than
all Catherine. I know is that people are loving this book and I needed to have it. And it was only $10. So I was.
What's it called again?
It is called A Field Guide to the Little People.
Oh, I like that name.
Oh, I know. Super cute. I'm really excited for it to come along with my map.
You know what I just finished watching not long ago for the second time?
What?
This time around I made my son watch it because I said, oh, this is a super cool TV show. Let's watch it together, because we always struggle for things to watch when we're eating our dinner because our tastes are so different. But I made him, I don't know how much of it he watched, but I was super into it. It was the Jonathan Strange and Mr. Novell.
Yes.
And I had watched it when it first came out on TV. How long ago was that? About 6 or 7 years ago, maybe?
I don't know. I have the book, but I haven't watched the series.
I had just, I watched it the first time. And then this time, because we have done so much research and we're so knowledgeable in all of our fairy folklore stuff now, we're super expert.
Yeah, we're super professionals.
I was watching it like it was like looking through fresh new eyes, and I was recognizing all the references. Like there's references to where he switches out the wife and he puts a log of wood in her place.
Oh, and you're like, so that episode,
blah blah blah. So that the Mr. Jonathan Strange won't notice that it's not his wife, and the Raven King is saying, I switched her for a log of wood, but he won't realize that it's, and he takes his wife to the underworld, and she's like trapped in the underworld with the fairy king, who's called the Raven King, but he's actually a fairy. And I was so into it this time around, and I was into it the first time I saw it, but this time it was like all of those little things clicked in my head, and I understood the backstory of all those little references, because it is all about the fairy world. I need to go. I need to revisit that. I know Sean and I, we don't watch very much TV. Like we just both work so hard and so much. We don't watch a lot of TV. So when we do try to pick shows that we both watch together. And normally we're very, very well closely aligned. But I'm trying to think. I did recently, because you had said that, and because I do have the book, I did mention that to Sean, and I think we looked it up again. I think he had watched the series, and I turned out that I hadn't. We couldn't figure out how that happened, because we watched so little, we try to watch it together. Anyways, that's a really bad story. We're watching Banshee right now. Have you watched Banshee? What?
It takes place in a little tiny town in Pennsylvania, which is the same exact place where my whole family began.
Banshee is in wailing like a banshee?
Banshee, yes, but it's actually named after Banshee, the name of a town, a fictitious town in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania. That's a good question. I don't know. It's so good though. Is
it a horror? It sounds like
good.
It would be a horror.
No, it's kind of reminiscent of. It almost reminds me a little bit of. Did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy?
I've seen some of it, and it's one of those things that I keep meaning to stick with and watch the whole thing, but I have never somehow got down to it.
Has like a
I think it's one of those things that the first couple of episodes, it takes you a while to get into. And if you can get over the hurdle of those first few, then you're hooked and it's amazing. But there are so many episodes that it feels like a commitment to me to like get involved with it. So I haven't ever really watched much of it.
Yeah. And we definitely like compromise on our TV watching, because like what I watch with him, I wouldn't ever watch alone. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we do compromise. I like it because it has a super hot dude as the main character, so I'm in.
Because that's not shallow at all.
Well, I mean, the girls are always hot in every show, so I feel like you can have a hot guy. Thank you very much.
A hot dude.
Yeah.
I know.
So the
Aidan
guy
Turner, anyone?
Oh yes, thank you, Ross. I love you so much. So he's super hot, but they're also really flawed. And they are like really, so like underneath their like super tough exterior, he like cries in some scenes, and like he has like PTSD, which is super weirdly hot. Like, oh, he's sensitive. You know what I mean? Because
is this in Sons of Anarchy you're talking about?
But that's very much like his character too, where he's like super hot, but he also has like issues. And for some reason, the fact that they have issues makes them hotter, because they're like,
it shows
because
that they're like
want
to help men with issues. I know it shows their little have, like, side to them.
Feelings in there under that tough exterior. I'm like, I'm in. And all of the women, every single woman in it is ridiculously hot. Whoever the director is, or like the writer is the same female type, because all of them, there's a ton of sex, there's a ton of super hardcore violence, which I can't watch. That's like when I catch up on Instagram, like I'm like la 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 la, like that man's face is being bashed in, and I'm like, that's like the only time I go on Instagram.
But you would never watch The Walking Dead then?
No, I can't. I can't do that level. I know a lot of
until it got shit, and then it kind of got a bit shit in the last few seasons.
Anyways, I'm super enjoying it. It's like a soap opera for a man, because of the level. The drama is like ridiculous. But there's like Amish are in it. The Russian mafia is in it. There's like Native American like heritage is in it. It's very like diverse, which I'm all for. It's completely the most ridiculous like situations. Everyone is ridiculously good looking. So it makes me laugh because it's drama.
I'm gonna see if I can check it out, but I don't know whether it's
I know Sean is in charge of the remote control, because I like can't even deal with that. So I'm like, you just find the show.
See whether it's maybe.
It's got to be either Amazon or Netflix.
Where can I watch Banshee in the UK?
Does it say
Now TV? I've got Now TV. Okay, I'll check it out on Now TV. There we go. There's something new for me to watch. I'm always needing something new.
Highly entertaining. But my favorite character in the whole show is this guy named Job, and he's like an Asian. I don't know if he would be like, maybe is he trans? Is he like a queen? I just love him. He's so super random. He's my favorite character of all of them in the whole show. But I love show with like utmost diversity. And this has like every single segment of the human population. They somehow managed to squeeze into this tiny little middle of nowhere Pennsylvania town. It's hilarious. It's the most ridiculous thing. And I love every second of it. But anyways,
before we dive into our super weird, ridiculous topic for this week.
This is a good podcast episode, by the way. I have visuals, so you are going to want to see this on YouTube. At the very least, go to our blog. Lucy, this shit is so good. I actually put it on our blog before I even started.
Did you? You gave us a teaser, a spoiler?
Because the visuals are ridiculous. You won't. It's ridiculous.
Are we going to talk about the
I have to shut my door. Let's talk about that at the end, because we have to talk about that as well. Okay. But I want to make sure that we have time for that. Well, why we're here.
The actual reason why we're here.
But stay tuned, because then we have extra things to talk about after. We need to
we don't just come on and babble shit for 2 hours.
I know. Well, we kind of do. But that's okay. And drink particulate matter martinis. But I need to talk about The Evil Eye, because it took me on a really weird, like,
Okay.
journey of weirdness. And I also need to shut the door to this room because I have 3 teenage boys and there's some weird things I'm going to be talking about in a minute. They already think I'm super weird, but I don't need them to give them more fodder for thinking I'm weird. So
Okay, go and shut your door.
you talk amongst yourselves for
well,
1 second,
I can't
Lucy.
talk. Let's just hit pause.
Do
Let's
it.
hit pause on Audacity.
Nope, not doing it. I'm not doing it.
You know what? Because I'm super
so fast. Look how
intent
fast I was.
To actually
so fast. I'm not doing it.
I can just edit all this whole bit out.
No, you're not even gonna edit.
This
you don't even need
out.
to because I was so fast. So fast.
Right. So you're talking about the evil eye?
Dude, the evil eye. Okay. I don't even know
because my backdrop this week is the Bible.
So yeah, if you've never watched this before, you might be thinking not what you should be thinking. You're looking at Lucy going, why is she sitting in front of a Bible? This must be a very religious show.
You need to listen back to like the first, maybe not the first episode, because that is even more of a hot mess than this one is. But
it's impossible.
But like a few episodes in where we start discussing the creepy Bible that my son bought. This is a photo of it in our background.
Well, the best part was that creepy Bible took you like 8 weeks to actually bust out. It did not disappoint though. They did not disappoint.
I was a bit scared to touch it, actually.
Well, it's because it's super creepy. I just love that you can see the Holy Bible behind your back this whole time. It like brings a smile to my face.
It's keeping me safe from the evil eye. Tell me all about it.
Well, the evil eye goes back like centuries. This is the most fun facts about the evil eye are, one, it's been around since like the beginning of human time, but 2, 37% of current cultures on the planet right now still believe it's a thing.
Really?
Yes. So I
don't actually know anything really much about it.
Well, it varies a little bit, like culture to culture and time to time, a tiny, tiny bit. But the gist of it is that you basically have the ability, or someone has the ability to cast like a curse, or there's power in like shooting a glance at something or someone. So depending on the culture, that could mean you've literally just cursed them to the point where they would become sick or they would die, or like something. It's always a negative thing. It's not like you're not shooting love eyes at somebody and something good happened. Like it's evil for a reason.
Oh, can I not shoot love eyes instead?
I mean, you can, but that's a different podcast episode.
I might still not be single if I was able to do that.
Oh man, that's a different podcast episode. We'll talk, although we do get into love a little bit on this one.
Ooh.
Yes. So but again,
is the evil eye actually just giving someone a dirty look then?
No, it is, but it has genuine real power. So it's what it looks like from the outside is a look, but what really is happening is something really truly bad. So casting like sickness upon someone, and it's usually inspired by envy, particularly envy is what is bringing it upon, which I find so fascinating that would be such a strong emotion that it would actually I am so jealous of you that like I'm going to kill you. Like I just feel like
jealousy is a really, really destructive emotion.
Yeah. And the evil eye is like the physical manifestation of that emotion.
Yeah, because if you're jealous of people, then I think that's a super destructive emotion to have, because you're worried more about how other people are doing than yourself, and you're not worrying about whether you're okay. You're just looking at other people going, they've got a bigger house than me, they've got a bigger car than me. Well, it's not a good look, boys and girls. It's not a good look to be jealous.
Well, and I think the second layer of that is like, I am so mad that that's not me. Now I want to make sure something bad happens to you because I am so bitter about it that I want you to die, or I want something bad to happen to your cattle, because we're talking about Scotland.
It's always cows.
It's always cows.
Always cows and milk.
Always comes back to the cows. But so and then what goes hand in hand with the evil eye is then all these things over the courses of centuries in different cultures of ways that people try to defend themselves against it. Since this is such a real thing that's happening, there's all these people who are like, shit, how do we battle against it? How do we defend ourselves against it? Because if all it takes is a look, that's really powerful. So how do we combat against it? So
wear big sunglasses or force people to walk around with eye masks on so that they can't actually look at you.
Well, it's not so much that they're looking into your eyes. They could be jealous of like your baby. Right? Like, they have a beautiful, healthy baby, and maybe I had a miscarriage. So I am looking at the baby. So one way to defend
everyone would have been jealous of my baby, because my baby when he was a baby was the most beautiful baby.
Was he? There are some ugly babies out there.
He'll hate me for saying that.
Was he really?
He was so good looking.
Was he?
As a baby?
I think
he was like a model baby. He was like he was the kind of baby that you would see in photographs in magazines and TV. He was the cutest, and I'm not just saying that because I'm his mother.
I think you are, but that's okay.
No.
So I have to say, of all my 3 babies, Max was by far the cutest baby. Is that mean? My kids will never listen to this, so it doesn't matter.
It's okay. I won't say anything.
I was like stunned by how I never saw like a handsome baby before. Like he was like beautiful. It was so weird.
What we'll have to do is we'll have to put on our Instagram a photo of Sasha when he was a baby.
Okay,
and
let's have a contest.
Max when he was a
let's
baby.
Have a contest.
And we'll have a contest.
Let's have a vote. Who wins?
Yeah.
What do we win?
And because then one of us can be jealous of the other one and cast the evil eye.
Cast the evil eye. We need to come up with a prize though right now. Who win? What's going to be the win? Who's going to win? What do we win? Ooh, come on. It's got to be good. It's got to be. We'll make hoodies. I'm really into this hoodie mode right now. We'll be like, my baby is better than your baby. We'll make a t-shirt.
Okay.
Do you think there's some really ugly babies though too?
There are. I know.
Super ugly babies. And I always wonder,
of course, you would never want
to
say that to the parent. You'd be like, "Oh, your baby's so gorgeous."
Oh no, there are some
actually really fucking
ugly babies, like butt ugly babies. But like, do you think their parents know that? Because it's a thing.
If your baby was ugly, would you see it?
It's a really
I don't know, because my baby was so beautiful.
I literally love that so much. I love it. There are some really ugly babies.
But was I disillusioned? Only you can tell.
I'll tell you.
You'll have to give
Sasha
me your
was ugly or not. I'll be honest with you.
Your actual opinion.
I feel bad for
I'll have
having
to find
a favorite.
photo because none of them are digital.
No.
It was in the days before digital photography.
What?
There's like actual physical
that's probably
photos
true.
somewhere.
What year was he born? 2000?
2000.
Yeah, I was going to say, because we got married in 2003 and we don't have digital photos of our wedding. And it was like, that was like the year that it was like, that was our choice. We were like, do you want them? And we're like, we don't really know what to do with that. Anyways, all right.
We digress quite a lot.
Of course we do. So yeah, the evil eye, it's super weird. So in ancient Roman times, it was huge. Like this was like a whole situation there, and it was a big problem.
Is there a symbol for the evil eye?
So there is it's like an eye. So one of the ways that they say that you can combat it is like if someone is to like repel it with the same kind of thing. So if you think someone is like about to give your baby the evil eye, and you to transfer the curse back to the person, to deflect it, you kind of like give them what they are cursing you with. So you would be like, say you're really terrified this woman's coming up to your baby, right? And you're like, oh shit, like they're about to curse my baby with the evil eye. So instead of being like, oh God, and running away, you're like, oh, do you want to see my baby? Do you want to touch my baby? Like oh, he wants to say hello to you, to try to like, when that's how you deflect it, is to like,
So you're
pass it
killing them
back.
with kindness?
Yeah, you know, you like take the curse and you hand it like back to where it came from. You're deflecting it back to what it is.
You give her a dirty look back?
Yeah. So no, but like the touch, like if you're afraid her evil eye will like physically touch become something real for your baby, you have them touch it themselves and then that deflects it. That's why the symbol of the eye.
That's so complicated.
Well, not really. That's why the eye, like what's really trendy now, like Kim Kardashian, like has like eye symbols because you're giving the evil eye like back to the person that's cursing you with it, and therefore you're deflecting it. So that's one example. Another example though is because the like ancient Romans and Greece were so fearful because the evil eye could be so many things. So it could compromise like your manhood. This is where it gets interesting.
I like that idea.
This is how it gets interesting.
You could really annoy a lot of guys that pissed you off that way, couldn't you?
Well, so in this whole,
you could just giggle at the wrong time. That totally does the same thing.
Gives it back to them with your giggle. Well, if you're a man and you're afraid that someone is going to compromise your manhood by giving you the evil eye, what is the equivalent of giving you your manhood? I'll just, spoiler alert, tell you what it is.
Yeah, tell me.
It's having an amulet of an actual cock and balls.
You mean they drew willies everywhere?
They actually wore amulets of penises.
Guys love drawing that.
No, they didn't draw them. They like cast them into like iron and stone, and they wore them.
They wore it.
Look at, and I knew you were gonna laugh, and I knew you weren't gonna believe me. So I made sure to come armed with
oh my
evidence.
God, that is hilarious. Karen is holding up a picture of
iron
penises,
yes,
cast into iron.
Yeah,
are they like a necklace?
Yes, you see the loops. That's for the necklace, so they could wear them around their necks.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
And that's only to defend themselves from the evil eye. Like,
are you sure it's not just because they like drawing those? It's like the Roman version of drawing a penis on the sidewalk.
They did say that they did have a good sense of humor, and that laughing was a great way to like thwart malign influences, for sure. So they did a good job of, I would kill to go back into like the Roman days. They had such a sophisticated like social system and like political system. Like they just had a lot of good, cool stuff going on, but they
lots of murder and slavery and people being
but I just feel like it would be
like the lion's den,
cool drama at the same time. But the penis balls combination was the most common form that you would find. Like archaeologists find, like they're all over the place. It's not like rare. It's not like, oh, like sometimes it was like that was the most frequently found thing that they found. Of course, they use nice words like phallus. And like, of course, all the podcasts I listen to, no one is laughing. I'm sorry, guys. It's okay to laugh.
That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. They literally have like a little baby cock and balls necklace on. Like that.
I think that should be our next merch, basically, shouldn't it? Let's have a cock and ball.
I'm sure we'd sell right out.
Have you ever seen, there's a show on Netflix called American Vandal? And I put it on again, dinner time with my son, because I need to find things that we can watch in common. Yes. And I put it on because I thought it was so funny. And he just turned around and looked at me and rolled his eyes and went, what the fuck are we watching?
Oh no.
You are such an imbecile.
That's what she said?
You have you have the sense of humor of a child, mother. Because it was, so what it was, it is hilarious. It is so funny. You need to watch it.
What's it called?
American Vandal.
Vandal. Okay.
It is a mock documentary, mockumentary, if you like.
Yep.
And it is done in the style of those true crime dramas,
nice.
Where they interview people and they have them speaking to the camera. And you know that thing where they have the person sitting without their mouth opening and their sound is coming out before they start speaking, and the whole kind of visual that they do off sync in true crime dramas. So it is a real story about these guys who film a true crime about an incident in their school where all of the teachers' cars got spray painted with penises, and they're trying to figure out who did it, and they're like trying to solve the true crime. And it is so funny. It's like, well, we know it can't be this guy because we just analyzed the ones that he draws on his side of his book, and he does hairs on the balls, and none of the ones on the cars have hairs. And I am killing myself laughing.
And Sasha's horrified.
My son is looking at me absolutely horrified. Like, is my mother 5? That she finds this funny? It's like, how could you find this funny? I'm like, it's hilarious.
Yes, I get it. Yes, my kids also think we are also not hilarious whatsoever.
Yes, but it also illustrates how much guys like to draw that part of their body in various different places.
Their favorite subject for sure. But can you imagine a day and age where like that would be normal, where people would just be rocking their like
cool they're going to the local
necklaces.
jewelers. Can I get one of those phalluses, please?
Right.
Like, what size would you like it? Well, could you make it extra big so that it shows
really long,
it's representative of me?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure I'm warding off all the evil and none is escaping. Yeah.
Make it go up the way.
It is awake and ready for defense.
Could you put some texture on the whole part? Just so it represents.
Do you think they're custom, or do you think they just had stalls like at a market where they just have 20 of them ready to go? Did they have like a casts where they would pour?
If you had enough money, you could probably get one made to order to your specifications. So there was like different prices. So if you were a cheapskate or like you had no money, you were like not a slave because they didn't have any money, but a lowly market farmer, then you would have to go to the shop and you'd have to get the cheap ass like mass produced amulet,
which I'm sure was a thing. It
was just not a good size. The AliExpress version. It like broke a little bit. The tip broke off sometimes, or like
no. But you need it for the defense. The evil.
And then if you were the rich person,
you had a gigantic one. So that
in gold.
Yes. So no evil eye. I'm just fascinated by this whole situation, especially because 37% of cultures still are into it. Like now,
did they find them in Britain with the Romans coming to Britain? Did they find any of those?
They were everywhere. They said they were the most common. They were the most common amulet that appeared in.
Can you imagine if you were going along doing your metal detecting in a field, like the guys from the Detectorists, which I love that show so bad. It is so amazing. Have you ever watched it?
You're gonna say fucking something, and then you switched your word choice there. You're like, it was so amazing.
I know.
What is it called? I write all these things down.
The Detectorists.
No, I have not. Because we've been watching Banshee.
So good.
I'm writing it down.
It's a very British show. So it's a bit like Ghosts. It's got that kind of
our favorite
softness to it and poignancy, but comedy at the same time.
Yes.
In fact, I think one of the guys in The Detectorist who plays one of the comedy characters possibly is the guy that plays the guy with no pants in Ghosts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A politician. Mm-hmm.
And it's about these two guys that do metal detecting in a field, but they never find anything. I know it's a random show.
Super random.
Can you imagine if they found
I'm sure
Roman
they did.
dick?
No, but listen to this. It says the Romans, used various amulets to protect themselves, but the most common one was the phallus. They were presented in both the form of jewelry, but also as household items. Okay, now this
you have it on your mantelpiece
as such as lamps and wind chimes.
What the fuck?
I'm thinking, like, when did the Romans have lamps? The lamps weren't actually invented until 1900. What?
Well, it would have been an oil lamp.
An
oil lamp
of a penis?
Not an electric lamp.
A lamp is like a lamp. Those are lamps. I just feel like,
but and did they have a genie lamp? So you have to rub it.
Ew. And they had wind chimes. The ancient Romans had wind chimes.
Not for people under the age of 6.
Yeah, this is a double explicit. Well, and you know what's super weird too is that the children. No, this gets super inappropriate because the most common, because you wanted to protect your children the most, right? So it was the kids that are walking around with these to protect them. That is messed up. That is
also got the
up.
image of, in kitsch households, they had those flying ducks on the wall.
I can't even with you right now. I'm going to show you another visual though.
You know what I mean? You know those flying ducks that you got in 1950s households? Can you imagine your flying penises on the wall?
I can, because this is my next thing I'm going to show you.
Some flying penises?
Is the wind chime of a flying.
Oh my God.
They liked to mix and match their penises with animals and other fun objects. So this is a flying penis which is also a wind chime feature, which is also a woman riding it, with also has horse hooves. You're welcome.
Oh God, I'm gonna die from laughter.
You're welcome, Lucy Bryden. Yep. That is right. We're not even done, honey. We are just getting started. That's just Roman.
Mm-hmm. You mean there's more?
There is more. Okay,
so let's calm down for a second yet. Let's take a deep breath. Oh my goodness.
All right, so now let's go over to Scotland, which is where we should have been the whole time, but I had to give you a little bit of a backdrop because I didn't realize Maggie's playing with a squeaky toy on the other side of the door. Hopefully you can hear that. Squeaky penis. So in Scotland, of course, the culture is rich with folklore and superstition. So the evil eye absolutely makes its way over there since forever ago. And it just like it started with the Romans, and just like it exists today, it stems from this whole envy surge of emotion. And just like these amazing penis amulets, the Scots have also
That's never gonna grow old ever.
Scots, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. The Scots are also.
I have a wind chime, please.
May I please have a horse penis wind chime with a woman riding it with wings on the side?
They could do really well on Etsy nowadays.
Yeah, there you go. The untapped market. Why did we not think of this before? So the Scots have come up with their own ways of deflecting the power of the evil eye, because it's important that we have a defensive mechanism for this. So in Scotland in particular, the evil eye or malevolent glance was known most commonly to do things like dry up wells, which would obviously be devastating, make milk and butter spoil.
It's always milk. It's always milk.
The milk.
We're obsessed with milk in Scotland.
Seriously.
For some strange reason.
Calm down about the milk. It makes boats sink. And if an otherwise like child was healthy or whatever, or an animal, they would suddenly fall ill, then it must have been because someone looked upon them. They used to be known as calling overlooked. Like if they were overlooked, it didn't mean that they were skipped. It meant that they were basically like shot with the evil eye.
Oh.
That was their kind of expression about it. Yes. And it even went up to like the early 1900s. This was like,
really?
Yes, there's a quote from, and it said, like, even if there was like a rational medical reason for something to happen, even as late as up to the early 1900s, that the ailment was more often chalked up to the evil eye. So this was a quote that was collected by folklorist Robert McLagan in the early 1900s that says, it will be easily understood that to a believer in the evil eye, mere modern science, as met with in daily life and doctors and veterinary surgeons, is of small account. A well-educated lady, a friend of the writer, advised a neighbor whose cow was ill to send for the vet. The answer was, and then he said all this stuff in Gaelic, a vet is no use whatsoever because the cow is basically was a victim to the evil eye. And then the best thing for it was to like do this whole like a chant and a thing to cure it. So I'm going to go through what those chants and little things are that people did to cure or to prevent the lasting effects of the evil eye. And there's of course lots of things. So like I talked about just a little bit ago, it was believed that the affliction could be cured. Like I said, like kind of like by mirroring back to it. So that's why the eye amulet like will deflect the evil eye. If you're trying to like compromise my manpower, I will shoot you with like a amulet of a penis, right? So you're like, yeah, you know, like the best defense is like an offense. So you're like shooting back to you.
Sure,
what you
I'm
think.
still sure that was just an excuse for them to wear lots of penises.
Oh, they definitely love their penises. So in the Scottish culture, they believe that their affliction
maybe not so much in Scottish culture because you know the kilt wearing and everything. Probably
it was definitely not so much penis heavy in the Scottish culture in the Highlands and Islands, but they definitely believe that you could cure yourself by transferring the curse to another object via direct physical contact. That's why when someone's like you like think that someone's going to cast the evil eye on your baby, you're like, oh no, why don't you come and touch my baby? And that way you're like deflecting it back to the person so that you don't get affected by it. So in Scotland, this would commonly thread or yarn was what people were always using to deflect the curse onto. So like for example, the yarn would be like wrapped and knotted around the affected area, and then it would just be left there until everything was all healed or the threads had worn out entirely. So you could be waiting,
or your finger dropped off because it had a thread wrapped around it.
Exactly. But if the threads like so you're basically say you're like, well, there's a million examples, so I'll get to them. But basically the thread, you're transferring the curse from your body to the threads. So you could also, if you don't want to wait to them till they get worn out, you can actually remove them and you can either bury them or burn them. And that way, if you can like remove the thread and like chop it up into little pieces, and that would like split. They literally think that the curse is now living in that thread. So imagine that. So now you're like, okay, let's chop it up into little pieces. That will diffuse the power, right? Let's burn it in a fire. Let's bury it underground. So they're taking the physical curse and they think it's now transferred to this thread. And then they're like messing with the thread in different ways.
Wasn't there an episode not long ago where you were talking about the superstitions in the Highlands and Islands? And there was something to do with something similar like that where you had to like
Yeah, no, it was the witches one when we were doing
Yeah.
the 10 fun facts about witches, and that's going to come up in about a second too. Not for the witch thing, but there's the same thing where there's like a number of different like maladies that are brought on by the evil eye, and then I do have a fun list of things that people do to thwart the evil eye, or how you are cured from the evil eye, and it's all involving thread. This
so
thread
strange, isn't it?
is super powerful. But they do say, like, as a country that was reared on the textile industry, think about it. You have all those sheep producing all that wool and all that, it says it should come to no surprise that Scotland has a rich history of superstition and folklore involving thread. That's like how everybody's making their living.
Do you think as well, with hand fasting? So in Scotland, when people hand fast, they put their hands together and they wrapped a rope around it. So that's also a thread. Yeah. There's a thread involved in that. So
there is.
Yeah.
I think that they I think because it's so readily available, it's everywhere in Scotland anyways. It's not like that everywhere.
You just walk down the street and you randomly see threads all over the place here. Did you not know that?
And by the way, all this information is coming from, and I love this so much, the title of this website is called The Wee White Hoose. And it's adorable. Exploring stories, traditions, and folklore from Scotland. It's a great website. And this article is called Taking a Thread to It, The Belief in the Evil Eye in Scotland. So it's a great article. I will link to it on our blog.
Okay.
Along with the other hilarious photos that I'm going to show you in a moment.
Oh yeah, we've got to see them.
Yes. So there was
ones.
Yes. So there was always a charm to go along with these thread kind of rituals, I guess you would call them, that kind of like are cures for the evil eye. So like I just said, it was believed that their affliction could be cured by transferring the malady onto another object. And in this case, it was the yarn via physical contact. Most commonly, this would be lengths of thread or yarn wrapped and knotted around the affected area and left there until it had healed or the threads had worn out. Yes, the threads, having had the affliction transfer them, would then be removed and buried or burned, often being split into pieces beforehand, thus splitting the curse and ensuring its destruction along with the destruction of the physical object. So there was a really common, there's a kind of a common belief or phrase that said the evil eye was suspected. The first suggestion would be to get a thread to it. That's what people would say. Like, oh, you better hurry and get a thread to it.
Wow.
I know. So it was very super common.
And I've never heard that expression, which surprises me because there's so many old expressions in our country that do work their way down, but I've never heard that one.
Yeah. Well, it does say that in Scottish Gaelic, and then that's like so maybe this is like more Highlands and Islands where they're like hardcore.
You mean we're not hardcore here?
Hardcore Scots. Not like you with your English father. We'll talk about that another time.
Oh my God. I deny that side of me. I deny it. It's not true. I'm 100% Scots. There's not a single part of me that's English.
So I have a couple of examples. So one, if a cow, say, had been overlooked, which we talked about before, which just means somebody shot it with the evil eye. So a cure for that would be to hold a red thread between the middle finger and the thumb, wind it around the thumb, middle finger, and the ring
like a
finger
thing
of the left hand. So it would be like this.
What the hell? That's so confusing.
Yes. Once wound like that, the thread was knotted and brought to the lips while a charm was muttered over it.
That's so complicated.
And the whole process, well, this is so Scots, isn't it? Like this crazy cockamamie, like first you do this, then do it just like that.
Cockamamie.
And the whole process was repeated 3 times in total, with some sources stating that a small piece of burning stick should also be passed 3 times through the loop formed by the thread. The cow was then rubbed down from horn to rump, and the knotted thread ties to the cowed tail. And then as the cow's condition improved, the knots were removed and then burned one by one. Can you imagine?
I've lost it already. Like I forgot instruction number 1.
Can you just imagine your whole day is like, oh fuck, my cow is sick. Get the thread. Like forget it. All the things.
It's gotta be red. So it's okay if like you are part of, say, the Stewart clan because their tartan has lots of red threads.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to talk about the color in a minute, actually. So let me go through some of these.
But if you're part of a clan that's just got a green and blue tartan, you're kind of buggered. You've got no red threads there.
Well, you do though, because red, I'll get to thread in a minute, Lucy. You're rushing me through my list. So let me give you a few more examples and then I will absolutely get to the color red and why that is significant. But you're always good about that. You always pick up on the key things that are important. I do.
I know. You said red thread and I zoomed in on it.
That's like your little secret Scottish superpower. It's like you always have like foreshadow.
There must be like a part of my ancestry that remembers doing all this weird shit.
Yeah, but only your maternal side.
Well, actually, I'm going to dispute there because yes, my dad was from England, but a couple of generations before him, they actually were from Scotland.
Oh, really? Are you making that up?
No, I'm not making it up.
So then he was Scottish. If he came from there originally.
They came from the Borders.
That's close enough. That's in Scotland.
Which is very
murdery. It's a murdery area. That's all I know about the Borders. Everything, all the shit goes down in the Borders.
I know.
Yeah. For sure.
So even though they're English now, they're not really, they're really Scots. So right. I'm telling myself that and I'm sticking to it. That's my excuse. And
I believe you for sure. So I'll just give you a couple more examples just to give you a good visual of kind of what people are doing when they think that things are going south, specifically as a result of being shot at by the evil eye. So when a child per se was considered to not be thriving, instead of taking it to a doctor or perhaps giving it some more milk instead, just saying, several threads were knotted together and tied 3 times about the child's neck because that's super
strangling your child's really gonna help. Giving your child like a weird feeling around its throat while it's trying to eat is really gonna fucking help you.
Your baby's trachea. But the good news is that as soon as they start showing signs of improvement, the threads are removed and then thrown into a fire. Yes, that's true. And it also says a similar method was applied to cure strep throat. Okay, that actually scares the shit out of me because strep throat is actually a bacterial infection. And if you don't actually treat that shit with antibiotics, you're going to die. That
but you do know that in these days, probably like half their kids died.
Oh God, I'm sure more than that.
More than half.
Of course. Sadly.
So they would never have said they died because we put a thread around their throat instead of actually giving them proper medicine.
Yes.
Can I ask though, was the tying of the thread around the object also included when a man's manhood was threatened?
Well, I think that's a really good question. Shockingly, I don't have an answer to that off the top of my head. So weird. I am an expert in Scottish folklore, so I should know that.
I'm so weirdly shocked that you don't know that one.
Weirdly, that the answer escapes me.
I could imagine that would also have to be used as the evil eye.
I'm sure if some man was like impotent or something, they'd be like,
let's tie a red thread around it.
Someone was jealous of my big manhood. Must get the red thread.
Is that your Scottish accent?
That was my man accent. That was my man scent.
Oh, hi! Someone was jealous of my manhood. Hey, Margaret, can I have the red thread, please?
Tie 3 knots and then burn them to the ground. Oh, here she comes. Oh, that would be a he. That would not be a she.
Just stick your hand up my kilt and get that thread on it.
Just wait. Just you wait. I haven't even gotten to the funny part yet. That's so good though.
My God, it's like 5 times.
I know.
already.
Just wait. Wait till I should. Oh. That was your sneak peek of what's to come.
I missed it.
I know. Oh my God, we're already over an hour. I gotta hurry up. This is gonna be a long one. I have so much more to go. All right. I'm gonna whip through these really quick. All right. As a cure for insomnia, doesn't have the impotent one, but we just came up with what they should do. So now everybody knows. I'm sure they know. So for insomnia, a red thread was worn around the head for 9 nights. 9.
All the way around, like
all
a
the way
mummy?
Around. Yep. And then they burn
like
it.
Covering your whole head, or just like a red little hairband?
Probably
Which one?
the second one.
Okay.
But I mean,
like a little fashion accessory.
It's probably pretty satisfying to be like, oh, I have the worst insomnia. It must be from the evil eye. Like, it must be kind of satisfying.
I'm going to try that next time.
To know, and also to know why you have stuff, because otherwise you just never know. But if it's just the evil eye every time, it's kind of like, all right, cool. I know how it happened. Now let's get on with the cure. Grab the red thread. All right, to get rid of warts, knots were tied in a length of thread, one for each wart, and the thread was then buried. As the knots,
is the one that we covered before.
Yes.
Did we not do
decayed, the warts faded. Yeah, this was like
put them in a little bag.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's all, but so what wasn't covered in that, because that was from the Witchcraft of the Highlands and Islands or whatever book. What they didn't cover in that book, which this is kind of filling in the blanks for us, is what was causing all that.
It was
stuff.
the evil eye.
It was the evil eye every time. So that's
the evil eye
cool.
was the evil, all evil,
right.
The evil of all evils.
Everything
the evil eye was the cause of all ills.
Now we know. So now we know. So it says in all cases, and so all of these things, like that could be sprains, warts, insomnia, whatever.
Impotence.
The person, sorry, this is a funny one. Using the yarn and the chant could be absolutely certain. This is what we're literally talking about right now. That the ailment was caused by the evil eye if they yawned while applying the threads. Boom! You're welcome.
No way.
Yep.
So if they were super tired and they happened to like squeeze a yawn out,
that's how you know. That's how you know, Lucy. That was it. Of
course.
It's all clear now. It's crystal clear. All the riddles have just been solved.
I love it.
Now we know. So yeah,
I would be guilty like 70% this time because I can't. I'm really bad for yawning.
Yes. Yep. So they called it the resting thread, but it's WRESTING. Resting was this same thread was used to cure sprains. This is all the things.
Is that a bit like resting bitch face? The resting thread.
No, that really is a rest. It really is just a sleeping bitch face. To cure sprains, dislocations, and fractures. Yes, the practitioner tied 9 knots evenly along a length of thread, being careful not to make any noise or allow the thread to touch the ground at any point. The knotted thread was then tied around the affected body part. So now we know exactly what to do while intoning a verse. So there's a few verses. There's quite a few. Do you want me to say just a couple? Maybe.
Oh yeah. I want to hear some.
All right, here's one. This is one from Orkney. 9 knots upon this thread, 9 blessings on thy head, blessings to take away thy pain, and ilka tenter of thy strain, which means and every trace of thy strain. How did you like my accent? It was amazing.
I loved it.
Right?
So was that specifically an Arcadian accent? Is that what it was supposed to be?
I've been working really hard to perfect that. You're welcome. Here's another one. Christ went forth in the early morn and found the horse's legs broken across. He put bone to bone, sinew to sinew, flesh to flesh, and skin to skin. As he healed that, may I heal this.
His poetry wasn't as good as the first
No.
one.
So what happened was
Do you
that
think
when Christianity, so these charms and poems started way back. They think they started back in the 7th century.
Wow.
Like forever. And then when Christianity crept in, or like, you know, leapt in and tried to kick everything else out, they would just slowly but surely they would replace the pagan words with mentions of Christian gods and whatnot. But these chants and incantations came way before Christianity, and then Christianity showed up and it just kind of got blended together.
Well, it absorbed everything like it always does, you know, because it can't think, or I should watch what I'm saying, but it can't have its own stuff. It's just got to steal everyone else's. I was just going to say, before I start getting on a Christianity van and losing us half of our 5 listeners, possibly. I'm just wondering if there's a connection between the knots in the thread and, like, you know, like a rosary has the knots, the beads,
interesting.
But also in like Buddhism and stuff, do they not have like, you know, like beads that they meditate over, and like each knot is each bead is like a bit?
I would not be surprised I would not be surprised at all. So according to this same article, it says the line between religion and folk magic in Scotland was a hazy one. These verses originated from a time long before Christianity was widespread, but as it is so often the case, they were syncretically, I've never even heard that or seen that word in my whole life. They're basically at the same time adapted over time to better reflect the teachings of the church. The intent,
like synchronized.
They will kind of like as what they like. Yes, I believe. The intent and method of application remain the exact same, but the appeal is now directed towards deities from Celtic Christianity, with the Holy Trinity, Saint Bride, and Saint Columba appearing frequently. The repeated use of the number 3 and its multiples in threads and knots are also thought to be connected to the Trinity. So they just all absorbed each other. They kind of like, right? They found common ground here. It says, folklorist Robert McLagan notes, the magic thread with the knots in it is not a superstition introduced with Christianity. It's as native as the heather of our hills.
So I wonder whether Christianity made the rosary with the knots.
That's what I'm thinking.
Stealing it from pagan stuff. And because they saw that people were already keen on like this knotted thing and like counting along and like almost meditating on these knots, they said, when we make a special necklace with the cross on it,
and people are already knotting these
the knots on
forever.
This necklace.
Exactly. That sounds,
we've solved a problem. Let's get in touch with the university of whatever.
Let them know
what
our official research has actually uncovered, finally, at long last. So this says the color red.
That's like religion class 101. Like the first week of the first lectures, and they go in first year and they still fresh out of school and they don't really know much of anything, and the guy walks up and goes, so just to let you know, the first thing that you're going to learn is that we stole the rosary from the pagans.
Along with Christmas, Halloween, and every other major holiday. You're welcome. So the color red has long been associated with protection for centuries, also dating back to the Romans. They said the Romans used to hang pieces of red coral around children's necks to protect them from danger. And the use of red string as a talisman to ward off the evil eye also dates back to biblical times. So the red is significant, although they do say as it relates to the Scottish folklore that can also be related to the color of the animal or the person that you're trying to treat. So they could have like a black, a red, and a white thread, like if they're helping a cow. So the red is like there are 3 strands, which represents the Trinity. It gets very symbolic. The red is warding off evil. The black is like to the cow's color, and then the white symbolizes whatever, the Trinity.
Do you think it's because so many Scots are redheads?
Not if it dates back to the Roman times.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Damn, I'm smart. It was all the particle flow days that gave me the answer to that.
I was hoping that you'd say yes.
I know, I don't think so. But I think it has to do with, there's a lot. Red is the same thing with like witchcraft, like in that witch book. When I made the spell book for our Celtic collective class, it was like that the rope closing the spell book is supposed to be red. It's like very symbolic. So this I thought was really interesting. So amulets are also made in Scotland to ward off the evil eye, just like the penis ambulance ambulance. That's like
ambulance.
That's an emergency vehicle.
Help! I need an ambulance for my penis.
That's a little different. Ambulance. So
I'm calling 999 right now.
But check this out, Lucy. This brings up a new point I've never heard of or thought of before. So Celtic knots?
Yeah.
Serious it up, Lucy Bryden. Celtic knots.
Sorry, I'm really trying not to giggle.
Just wait. I have something funny coming. Okay.
It's so childish. It's just a mention of penises.
I know. No. So Celtic knots, that they're all crazy, but also beautiful. So it says, as a preventative measure, knots were used. So it was saying that it was thought that the malicious gaze would be drawn to the trace, that pattern formed by the knots, distracting it from its intended target.
Oh, so it's like it gets lost in the knotwork?
Yes. But all the
so
Celtic cool designs that are everywhere, like those were specifically designed to like draw the attention of the evil eye to those.
Oh my goodness.
And then it would safeguard you against that. And I was like, what? That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. Yes.
I did not know that. That is so cool.
Isn't that so cool? So it says these interlaced patterns, the Celtic design found on gravestones, crosses, swords, and elsewhere have another humble descendant in the, oh my gosh, that's a lot of words. Blah, 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 blah. It's a rooted idea to intrigue the evil eye of witch or other ill-wishing adversary and keep it out of mischief. So it basically, it's attracting the evil. Exactly. It attracts them. So they're like, what is that? And then they start following the lines and then you're safe. How fascinating is that?
So freaking cool. I love that.
I know, I do too. And I was like, what is that? What that's all about? Because I never even thought to think what all those
I just always thought the Celtic knotwork
were.
Was just a cool pattern that people in my country did.
I did too.
And it actually, can I tell you, I'm going to just interrupt. So I've got some books on Celtic knotwork that I've had for years and years and years. And there is one guy who's the definitive guy on Celtic knotwork. And I'm trying to remember his
disappeared.
Name. And
you're like a magic. You're just disappeared entirely into your Bible. And I'm drinking from my actual like cocktail shaker glass.
Okay, so I can't remember his name, but there's one guy who is the guy who totally is the expert on this. And he's got this book that has all the different Celtic knotwork patterns.
Oh, no way.
So that you can copy them for your artwork and blah, blah, blah.
Cool.
And the most amazing thing is that he'll have some of them that are blown up to like a quarter of a page. And then it'll say underneath it, actual size, 1/4 of an inch or something.
Whoa.
And you're like, so people in like 500 could somehow draw this thing that was absolutely tiny.
Wow.
That is would be difficult to draw it 10 times the size. Like,
oh my gosh,
the version that he's got that's blown up to 10 times the size is still super complicated and would still be super complicated to draw. And not only are these drawn, some of them are engraved onto metalwork.
What?
When I go to Edinburgh next week, because yes, I'm going to Edinburgh and I'm going to take lots of photos to make you super jealous. And in the National Museum, they've got loads of archaeological finds, and some of them are things like brooches, all that kind of thing that they found when they were doing digs, and they have Celtic knotwork patterns engraved in them, and they are tiny. Like, how did they manage to do that?
I don't know.
So amazing.
Have you seen the artwork that they make on the tips of pencils?
Yes.
That's what that reminds me of when you're talking about that. That's insane.
I know.
Like,
or like when the artwork that they do on one piece of rice. Have you seen those?
I can't even do regular artwork on like an 8.5, 11 piece of paper. It's like too small. You ask all my students, I only work in extra large.
But that's crazy. With us nowadays having access to Jerry's Artorama or Jackson's Art for all the art supplies and the tiniest brushes and the really good, amazing microscope. Can you imagine like some wee Celtic guy in a kilt in like the year 500 with this little bit of metal, like doing this tiny, he can't even transfer it using a machine because it's all done by hand. I mean,
that's crazy town.
Aliens.
Maybe it's totally crazy town. Really crazy. So I'm going to segue. I'm going to read a little story. This is going to be a 2-hour episode. I'm just telling you that right now. It's a really short story though. So yeah, that stuff is nuts. But I'm excited to talk about this because I never ever stopped to ask what those knots represented.
I did not know that they had anything to do with the evil eye. That is super interesting.
I totally agree. It does also say that the scarlet thread, the red, is an infallible preventative of witchcraft. And it is extremely rare to find a hook fastened to a line with thread of any other color. So red, super important. It is also believed that the evil eye could make butter seize in the churn and dry up the milk of every cow in a herd. So preventative charms were frequently found in the dairy. Again, always goes back to the damn cows, right?
Yeah.
So a red
obsessed with milk.
Obsessed. A red thread was tied around the churn staff and milk pans, and it was customary for anyone who entered the dairy while butter was being churned to lay their hand upon the staff to show that they had no intention of overlooking it. And remember, overlooking means casting an evil eye on it. So I'm going to read a story quick from the Peat Fire Flame that actually is a great example, is a story of the evil eye and the fact that, so as you can tell from that article, that it was super important that they protect the cows, because can you imagine trying to churn butter all day and it doesn't produce anything? That's like back-breaking motherfucking work right there.
Yeah.
So this is a story. This is from The Peat Fire Flame by Alistair Alpin McGregor. This is page 279. It's also really cool because it's an example not only of the evil eye, but also because it was believed that a live coal or a smoldering peat taken from a fire for the purpose of kindling a fire, which makes sense, in another house had certain occult properties, except it didn't work when water was involved. So it was conveyed across water, it would like break the curse.
Okay.
So this is a big thing also in Scottish folklore with the water. That's why a lot of times too, you have like the water horse and like the Benia and like the Urisk. Like there's a lot involving these creatures and magical powers and waterways.
But also it is also thought that that certain spirits or whatever can't cross over water.
Right.
So they would be stuck. Like near to me, there's a forest that's got quite a spooky bit. And the spooky bit is most definitely starts where it crosses a wee burn and finishes where it crosses another one. And it's like in between those two bits of water is super spooky. And I'm not the only person that feels that way. And so it's thought that whatever it is contained and isn't able to escape over. And actually, I might be getting my facts a little bit wrong here, so don't come for me if I do. But in Tam O'Shanter, so that's by Robbie Burns. In Tam O'Shanter, the Cutty Sark, which is the spirit that chases him, he crosses the water, he crosses the bridge. Do you know the poem I mean?
I don't, but it's just really familiar from all the other things that I've read.
So maybe we'll do an episode on that.
Yes, we totally should.
He basically goes to a graveyard and sees like witches dancing and like spirits and stuff, and he tries to escape, and as soon as he crosses the bridge, they can't follow him. So that crossing of the water is a definite theme in Scott.
It's like a folklore. It's almost like a weird safety zone. It comes up over and over and over again. And this is very similar to that, only in this case the water is in the home. So it's the exact same idea. So what I love about this book is it's almost written like a Facebook post, some of these things, because it tells who said the story. They're like, this one is like by Jean blah blah blah, who was visiting with her sister, who's cousins with the blah blah blah, who heard it firsthand from blah blah blah. And so you feel like you know the people, it's like it makes it very familiar. So it's that this is a mother of a crofter family in the Isle of Skye. So she toiled with her churn in her house. So she's making butter. Seated in, I'm going to try to make this a little shorter. There basically is a tailor who's working away. She's in another room of the house, churning her life away all day long. She's toiling to make butter. And there's a tailor who's sewing clothes for the sons who were out on the moor doing the peat cutting, which is another back-breaking, laborious job. Meanwhile, a woman from a neighboring croft comes in and asks for kindling for a fire. So right away, this is tied to the evil eye because, hold on, I got to get to my point of my article. Hang on a second. I have so many pages stapled together here. So they believe that the evil eye could make butter seize in a churn. Okay. And so that preventative charms were frequently found to prevent people from messing with the dairy production, so milk and butter production. And then of course into this story in this book, it said I believe that the smoldering peat taken for the fire had occult properties. Okay. So this tailor sitting here knows that this neighbor coming in is up to no good. She's stealing kindling for her own, this is the Cliff Notes version. She's trying to steal their butter is what's happening. So she's coming in saying, oh, can I buy? And so she's like, can I come in? I need some kindling for my fire. So this tailor and this woman downstairs is toiling and trying to churn butter. And the neighbor coming in is trying to steal her butter by stealing the kindling or the peat from her fire. But that's the property.
That's so freaking complicated.
It is. But the tailor knows what's going down. Okay.
Can you imagine? Like, I thought that life was complicated now with person posted this photo, but actually they were saying this
blah, blah, blah.
But actually it was the same back then.
What it 100% was. It really was.
Have this image that everything was simple back then, but actually they made it just as freaking complicated back then.
It's just as fucked up back then it is now. So the tailor is sewing away, and the neighbor comes in. So no sooner does she get the kindling and departs it, the tailor immediately leaps down. He takes the red peat out of the fire and he drops it in the water stoop under the table. Now we'll get to what a stoop is in a minute. It's basically it's like a basin. Okay. So he then resumes his position and pretends that nothing ever happened. Okay. A little later, the woman returns again for another kindling, saying that the first kindling had failed to light her fire. So again, she comes in, grabs it, leaves. Again, the tailor slips down from what he was doing. He puts another live peat into the water stoop. Okay. She does it a third time. She comes in, she steals the kindling on the pretext that the second kindling proved as useless as the first. And then she does it again. And as soon as she leaves, the tailor comes over again for the third time, puts a live peat into the stoop, and then continues with his sewing as though he had never left in the first place. Sorely distressed was the mother of the family, who has been grinding and churning butter all day long. She comes in and she discovers that not 1 ounce of butter has been produced in the churn after all this work.
My God.
And she says, I've been at the churning since early day, and the arms of me are weary, and there's not yet a cat's lick of butter in the charm. Oh my God, do you like my accent?
You sounded quite Irish there,
so
actually.
Good. I'll never hear the end of this when the men come in from the beats. I don't know. Now I'm like Indian, whatever. So then the tailor.
What the fuck are you speaking?
Shut up. I'm an American. I have no good accents. So, okay. In my defense, that's literally what it says. So shut up. So then the tailor says, woman came in 3 times for kindling, interposed the tailor, and she, knowing you were at the churning. But when she went, I put 3 live cinders in the stoop under the table. Put your hand into the stoop and you will find the butter. Thrice the woman placed her hand in the stoop under the table, and thrice she drew out a great lump of butter as fresh and fair and fragrant as the beauteous buttercups in their prime. So the tailor was on to that woman and knew.
But the butter had gone from the woman's butter churn into the thing with the peat.
He thwarted her. Like,
so it was magic as well. There's magic involved in that there cottage.
I mean, they said it was and it had occult powers. So he thwarted them. So then, and then I just have to share you this little tangent. So then I'm going, well, what's a stoop? Because I have this whole image in my head, but I don't know what a stoop is.
Well, I actually got it wrong. I thought a stoop was like a step at your front door.
Oh, that's a S-T-O-O-P. This is a S-T-O-U-P. So I Googled what is a stoop so I Googled what is a stoop, and then it came up with images of in a Catholic church when they have the basin for the holy water. So then I Googled, I'm like, that's not quite right, because we're not in a church, we're in like a poor peasant's house. So then I Googled, what is a butter churner? What is a stoop in regards to a butter churner? And then I found out that butter churner is a sexual position that is brilliant for helping women orgasm.
What? I didn't expect you to go there.
And then that the butter churner is also known as the squat thruster, which involves the woman lying on her back with her legs raised above and behind her head. And I'm like, I don't even understand what that means.
Into an alternative dimension. What has happened to me? What happened to this podcast?
So I'm like,
what happened to this conversation? So we went from like old timey Scottish butter churning.
I told you the good part was at the end.
The Karma Sutra.
So then I'm like, do I dare click the button to learn more?
Yeah.
I'm like,
you want to look at a video for that.
Is my nanny cam like preventative software gonna block this website? But luckily no, because the article that I clicked on didn't have real people in this position. Actually, which the irony is so great here, Lucy. It shows artist wood figures in that sexual position. And here it is.
So do we get to see it?
So here it is.
Oh my God. And the butter churner. That woman, that looks uncomfortable. Her head's like, that actually looks a little bit.
First of all, I couldn't understand where her other leg was. It took me like a minute to realize that her legs are crossed. Like she's like hanging out with her legs. Her ankles are crossed in the air. And how do you maintain? Who is holding her back up?
That was sore in your neck.
You can do that if you're a wooden figurine. You can't do that if you're like a human being.
It also looks like a lot more fun for the guy than it does for the woman.
Okay,
let's face it.
If his leg is bent here, how is he even holding himself up? This is anatomically impossible. I do have this exact image on our blog, one Scot, one not.com.
Are you going to try it, Karen?
I think we're too old. I think that's what you try when you're
We've reached a whole new level this episode.
I know, but can you imagine my surprise?
Nikki Webb, if you're listening, you most definitely need to make sure that your children are out of the room before you listen to this week's episode.
But this is my favorite. This is the screenshot of what came up when I Googled butter churner. This is the best thing ever. These were the titles: How to do the butter churner sex position, Women's Health. What is the butter churner sex position that Love Island's ... This oddly named sex position promises more intense orgasms. Yes, there's a lot of upsides to the butter churner. So that's
Do you think that was involved in the story? It's like When Harry Met Sally, the Scottish version of When Harry Met Sally.
The cows and the butter churning. Let's just say I wasn't thinking along these lines when I Googled stoop and butter churner.
Yeah, of course you were.
And meanwhile, okay,
because you hadn't just spent like a whole other set of time looking at Roman phalluses and printing them off.
I had no idea when I said I was gonna do the evil eye that all this craziness was going to follow. So my friends. So that's all I got.
Thank God for that. I don't know if I can cope with anymore.
And I need a cigarette after that finale. Yeah, that's a good place to end. And awkward and goodbye. Isn't that so weird?
Oh my God, Karen, that was like the best episode ever.
Well, it was so weird because I'm always like, I'm going to do my due diligence because I always am Googling things actively, like although that would have been hilarious.
You just don't want to get murdered in the next week, because if you do and they like come and search your internet history.
Why are you trying to murder me now? I'm a little freaked out.
Or you don't want to be accused of murdering anyone else in the next week, because if they come and search your internet history.
She's Googled the butter churner for better orgasms
and Roman phalluses.
I don't know how you have an orgasm in that position. You're busy doing gymnastics. Like, I don't know. That looks absolutely
anatomically about the crick in your neck, actually.
Impossible. According to this photograph, your left arm is supporting both yourself and your partner, because his right knee is very bendy. It doesn't make any sense. Where's his other leg? I don't understand any of this.
You're far too concerned about this.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure it out.
I just took one look at it and went, nope.
It's like a sexual puzzle that I can't solve. I don't know. I need another drink.
Who knew that when we spoke about little button bends in Scotland and churning butter that we would come across?
All I know is when that was the result of my research, I was like, oh, this is so good. Like, I could not have asked for a better Google result ever.
Or a better ending. Better.
There's our happy ending. It's all from the butter churner, baby. Oh my God. Oh, here's Sean. Should we ask him? No, because he's fired.
No, Sean does not get to be part of our podcast ever.
Look at this one.
Because he will mess it up no matter what we do.
I'm showing him the picture and now he's intrigued. Uh-oh. Try not to fail like you failed the last time.
He's like, oh.
He goes, I know what we're doing. Yeah, no. Good luck. You can use I actually have this little arty guy. You can contort him into the right position. I don't think my body does that. Stretching.
That was so good, Karen. That was hilarious. When you said that you were doing the evil eye, I didn't know it was going to take that direction either.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, this is so good. I had no idea.
And I am going to go and get a whole ball of red thread so that I can tie it around everything in my house.
I mean, it's this cure.
I know.
I know.
It's a cure for everything.
It's cure. And thanks to like the Kardashians, who in 2021 have like brought back, there's like an evil eye, like that motif that it's become super trendy.
What does that look like? I don't think I even know what that looks like.
Legit. Just Google like evil eye Kardashian. So yeah.
I would Google it if I had my glasses on and I could see what I was typing.
I know. I have so many pairs of glasses. There's glasses everywhere, and I'm so blind. Well, anyways, let's leave it at that because we're already
and we were going to
40
discuss the podcast that we were
can't.
listening to, but we
Too
ran
long.
out of time. So let's talk about the star of next week's episode.
We have a good one that we're going to branch onto. We also have a really generous listener who sent in some amazing ghost and fairy stories. If you have ghost and fairy stories, please send them in. We want to read them out. That would be amazing. So please don't be shy. Go to onescot1not.com. You can either fill out our contact form or just email onescot1not.
You don't have to be rude just because we are.
Yeah, feel free to be normal. And by the way, the one in the One Scot One Not is the number one, not the, don't spell it out. And you'll reach us. But we really want to hear from you. It like makes our whole day.
Head on over to our Insta where we will have to set a poll for who had the most beautiful baby.
Oh yeah. Dude, Max is gonna kick Sasha's ass. I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying he's gonna win.
Are we gonna fall out over this?
Have a fight. Oh my god. No, I love you to the end. There's no way. I would give up. I would admit defeat for sure. But we'll see. Yeah, good call. I gotta go frounge up a baby photo. It's literally not a word in English whatsoever. That's what happens when I'm drinking out of my cocktail shaker at the end because I'm like, come on, I just need one more sip.
You're like licking the bottom of it.
I know. I'm like, let's do this. All right. We're definitely gonna do more Friday night episodes because this is way fun. Not like
that was so much fun. And I have no idea what I'm talking about next week because I'm spending the whole week in Edinburgh, so I'm gonna have to think of something.
No, you'll just be inspired by something that you see, and you got to do.
Maybe we'll do something, and maybe let's do an Edinburgh story. Let's do something to do with like the Edinburgh graveyards or the vaults. I'll find a story about Edinburgh.
There is so much that you can do, Lucy. Do something historical. We haven't really hit on anything historical, so that would be a cool term. Yeah. I do want to do an episode on the coronation stone, the big stone that was like
the stone of destiny.
Yes, we need to do that. That will be a good one.
That's a good one.
That one needs to be done, but that's kind of Edinburgh related.
You almost said it right.
Edinburgh.
Yeah, just imagine that you're wearing a woman's undergarment.
Edinburgh. I just can't say it without feeling like a doofus. Edinburgh. And then I have to say Edinburgh when I'm around Americans who've never heard of anything in Scotland. No, I would never say that.
When I'm around Americans, I have to say a razor instead of rubber because otherwise I'll get laughed at.
A razor instead of a rubber?
Yeah.
Oh, because a rubber is a condom?
Yeah, I asked for one when I was in college.
You asked for a rubber?
I was in class and I made a mistake.
I thought you said a razor. Not an eraser.
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
When I was in class and I was writing something in one of my notebooks and I made a huge mistake and I said really loudly, "Does anyone have a rubber?" And like loads of people turned around and laughed at me.
Like,
and I didn't know why.
Awkward.
Yeah, and I soon learned that there's only one meaning for that word in the States.
Yeah, there really is. That's so good. That's all right.
It was okay because I was Scottish and that was cute. So I got away with it.
Oh, I know. And meanwhile, the Americans show up and all the Scots are like fucking dumb Americans. And you know what? They would be right.
I really should have taken more advantage of the fact that I was Scottish when I was in college there.
You kind of should have. But maybe it's good you didn't because you would have like picked up a lot of awesome venereal diseases that you didn't need to. So
I know.
It's all good. You did a good job.
I took enough advantage.
You did fine. You did just fine. All right. We got to wrap it up because we could go on for literally ever. All right. We'll see you next week with something Edinburgh-y next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.